Hello, my name is Mark Clements, and I am one of the administrators with the campaign to end the death penalty, a national group, a national organization that basically fights around uh, death penalty cases. Um, Here in Chicago, we have been faced with a systematic pattern of police abuse. The citizens are angry. The taxpayers are being milked while government is finding band-aid solutions to problems that really wants the attention of a full and fair investigation by the United States Justice Department. You know, it is a shame that in the year of 2016 that we are still dealing with systematic racism. We are still dealing with Jim Crow laws. We are still dealing with just a epidemic of different styles of racism that have been implemented towards people of color, people that are poor, people that are downtrodden have been victimized all over this country. In the state of Texas, we are dealing with man, men and women that are on death row that man shouldn't even be there, but they are there. And you know, it raises a very, very serious question to society. How can we approach this issue to bring some type of closure to it? How can we approach the issue in the city of Chicago where that a young 16-year-old child is shot 16 times by a Chicago police officer? A commander, Glenn Evans, just basically totally walks out of a courtroom after exculpatory, compelling evidence exists showing that DNA was on the barrel of his service revolver, which he had placed into the mouth of an adult in Chicago. We still find ourselves wrestling with why was Rekia Boyd killer just allowed to go free? This is a person that was sworn in by the police department. He took an oath to uphold the duties and the Constitution. However, he recklessly, cold-heartedly, with malice, and with full intent, shot his service revolver from behind his back because he was upset because there were people around his residency area making noise. Now, this is a police officer. That's his behavior. It must be a accountability board that will be open, that will be fair, that will be unbiased, and most important, completely separative, completely separated from the interests of the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. We need a accountability board that can adequately and fairly probe into acts of misconduct by Chicago police officers, and that immediately these police officers be uh, judged by its peers. A lot of people fail to realize what is a peer. Well, in most cases, and especially cases where that men or women have been accused of crimes, what we see so often are people that are being tried through the process of a jury by individuals that do not even live in their towns. And this is conduct and behavior that is acceptable to our criminal court system that is so disturbing. Skokie, Illinois is part of Cook County, and we all know that it has its races. There are other racist areas all over Cook County that has pockets of racism. And the pockets of racism, that's the powers that be, meaning the people in the higher positions. So now they're the ones that are picked to judge what took place in what is considered to be poverty communities. You know, the communities, and especially in the state of Illinois and Indiana, some pockets of Texas, California, places of Iowa, we know of the pockets of racism, and we know that pockets are there. Well, those are the people that are picked to sit on these juries. They have no knowledge as to what's going on in the community, none at all. They just sit on the jury, they sit on that jury, and as they sit on that jury, 9 out of 10 times they favor the interests of the police officer. The police officer, therefore, now has great opportunity of keeping his or her job. And what they do is they continue the same pattern of abuse or misconduct that nearly got them fired. We go to one detective, John Burge in Chicago, who I just learned just yesterday, and don't even pay attention to. But John Burge received a pension increase. Could it be a cost of living increase? What he did was he lynched niggers, and he took those niggers down to the police station at area 2 and 3, and as he lynched and he tortured them, he reminded them that they were niggers. Well, he got an increase. What about those survivors of torture? What about victims of torture? What about their families? What about the community that was basically affected by the behavior of the Chicago police, locking up innocent people and leaving the individuals that were committing the crimes out in society? They re-victimize over and over and over and over. That's what happened. These are like jungles, and we are wondering why. Could it be that in the city of Chicago, there have been wrong choices as to the elected officials that have been voted in, people in general? Most do sell you out. Most do act like they're trying to do something for you, but you never see a change. Think about that. Higher taxes, higher property taxes, but soda taxes in Philadelphia, and they may have a soda tax here. But the bottom line of it is that when are we going to wake up that we need something new? We need to replace the old with something new. The mayor's picks or choices for a accountability board to investigate corrupt Chicago police officers is not an appropriate choice for the people. Now, the people, you heard me right. Sit on your asses, and you can just sit there and wait till your own children become to be victimized. You saw what happened to little Timmy. You've seen it. You've seen it with your own two eyes, but you sat there, and you did nothing because it wasn't your child. So now, the next day, that same injustice comes and it knocks at your door. Now, come on, let's go do something, let's go. And you know what? Ain't nobody, because people were trying to mobilize through you and other people who took the option to ignore. So now the problem is completely out of hand. We speak of things from the code of silence, in which we know exist. Some of the same judges that are asking for evidentiary evidence as to the code of silence, they represented people when they were lawyers before judges, and they existed. But now they become to be a judge, and now guess what? It don't exist. Whippy do. What have we achieved? We can achieve anything, my brother and my sisters, by ways of not being prepared. We got to face the reality. This country has endured since, I would say, maybe the more broad string poor people have at least not walked with the ball and chain so heavily around them. We have, man, just totally ignored things that affect our children. Man, in Texas with R. Kelly, in Texas with Charlie Wilson, and this is what I raised to those brothers. Why we can't come together? Let me tell you, we can have all the money in the world, but if we can't come together, that means you just got money and there's no direction. Those same brothers, as the slogan that I use, especially when I do mainstream media interviews, and that is how the political football image of the system have basically betrayed upon the people. R. Kelly can come here right now and he can say, guess what? I'm going to be on the Dan Rhyme at blah, blah, blah time. And the Dan Rhyme, I have to be shut down for 5 days. But let's say to protect your right, your constitutional duty, your due process, your equal protection, your right to at least be a citizen, your right to at least, guess what? Some of you got kids and they committing crimes. Yes, they are. Come on, let's keep it real. Okay? But should they be killed gunned down by the police, and the police know that, well, these guys didn't have guns and they was just simply running, trying to get away from the police. We all did that as kids. It was called being mischievous. But the bottom line of it is, should they be gunned down? And then now the police comes and they got all these throwaway guns, and they throw a gun there and say, well, hey, the kid, he pointed the gun at us, and come to find out the kid was shot in the back. So something have to change. The mayor wants to replace IPRA, who this day investigate police misconduct, police shootings, police killings, and he want to replace that agency with, you know, whatever his mystery agency is. And I'm pretty sure you have some people maybe I know. Oh my gosh. Probably we ate hamburgers downtown and we kicked it and whatnot, and position open. Oh, no, don't bite the apple. We need a Citizens Accountability Board. That means, yes, they're going to need some structure. Yes, it would be good if there's one attorney on that board. It would be good if there is maybe someone who heavily works with the community on that board. But the rest of those positions should be elected people from the community to sit on those boards. That way it keeps out the possibility of impartiality. Because long as you have the impartiality, you ain't gonna get no justice. We can fight for it. Yeah, the city of Chicago, man, you can go there and tell them, man, the police jumped on my toe. But they're gonna write you out a check so quick. You know why? It ain't their money. You know why? Because they're gonna charge you a tax to get that money that they gave him. So then the people gonna be screaming and hollering, well, guess what? Why now we gotta pay maybe 50 cents? You know, they'll set up a little meter or something, and every time you get on the Dan Rhyme, it costs you 50 cents. Or every time you get on the Bishop Ford, it costs you 50. They'll come up with something. Because it's called milking the people, oppressed people that basically since, I would say, the mid-1990s, things started to get stripped from them. They couldn't recognize it because they was, man, flowing with milk and honey. But they didn't understand that the same services that they were rendering back over to the government would be services that they would need now today to function. Muhammad Ali, not one, but the best, greatest fighter of all times. That was his message. You don't get to give it back. That's what you did. That's what this society did as a whole. And we're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of it because the repercussions all fall on us, regardless if we did it or regardless if we didn't do it. The key is, how do we fix it? Now, 9/11 hits, and the milk and honey started to dry up a little bit at a time. So now that the milk and honey has dried up, government is basically on a crutch. My gosh, this world in 2000, by 2018, people crying over ISIS. They're going to be crying over the Americans in a minute. So people, It's very important that on this Wednesday, which will be on June 22nd at 8:30, once again, Wednesday, June 22nd. Yep, 2016, baby, at 8:30 a.m. I'm asking that you get up and that you be at City Hall. And, what do we want? Do we want the old system to stay intact? Do we want this new system to come and then everyone gives the praises to Rahm Emanuel? And we know that his appointments will all be political appointments. We know that his appointments will be individuals from maybe the community that people in the community don't even deal with. So I support CPAC. Why do I support CPAC? Easily. Back in 1979 in the city of Chicago, it implemented the Office of Professional Standards to begin to probe into allegations of police misconduct. Well, the Office of Professional Standards, man, talking about inadequate. It was almost like going to a prosecutor and begging the prosecutor who wants to hang you for some relief, because everything was systematically covered up. The investigators were basically all ex-police officers. The same people they were investigating was their friends. So the Office of Professional Standards is kicked out of the way under the Richard Daley administration, and Richard therefore comes with his new idea that everyone shouted about and jumped up about and praised, and uh-oh, IPRA came with clauses that if they didn't complete an investigation in 5 years, then the complaint would had to automatically be dismissed. Several cases ended up that way because people didn't pay attention to the small print, and they didn't pay attention to the fact that the police department would intentionally drag these cases. hmm So they got IPRA. They got them. IPRA over there on Chicago Avenue in Chicago, right off Ashland. And they have like this little secret office there, and they try to gain the confidence of the people to talk to them, in which the people do talk to them, but however, IPRA don't do anything. So we have watched Flint Farmer, that's his name, Flint, Brother Flint Farmer, gunned down like a dog. Rikia, and just so many of these cases, Dakota Bright, and just so many of these cases, Ronnie Man Johnson, so many of these cases. I'm talking about, man, just so many of them. Laquan McDonald case, that was like the tip in which the evil and the corruption, they knew they had to do something there. See, they knew they had to do something. They tried to brush it away, and that's why they gave them that settlement, and they wanted it to go away. They wanted it to go away. We got to support agencies that is going to work towards some change. And we need some change. We need to come up with some ways through that change how we can better relate with younger people. We need some better training by our police officers if they want to deal with mentally handicapped people or mentally ill people. You know, Stephen Watts, you know, was gunned down in Calumet City by Calumet City Police. And, you know, to my knowledge, the matter just still dragging on. Where do the injustice stop? Shaquille O'Neal, this young brother was seen being kicked in his head. Well, after being kicked in his head, the police officers, they took him into custody, and shortly thereafter, it was released that the prosecutors would not be bringing charges against Mr. O'Neal. Yesterday, over 30 cops was on his porch, and when he went outside for a second, they were right there, and they grabbed him, and, well, come to find out, they tasered the brother. And they tasered him to the fact where he had to be hospitalized, and to my knowledge, he is still hospitalized over at Illinois Masonic Hospital. You know, these things are just out of control. Here it is. They kicked this brother in the head, and they would have denied it and all of that type of stuff there. They kicked him so hard, the brother was unconscious. Well, they wiggle out of it, and they come right back. See, you know, screaming and arguing and all of that type of stuff there, especially at each other, especially at these protests, or especially at any type of event, the system loves it. They want discord. They want things that would separate. The key of it is reaching some type of transparency here, and we ain't. You know, we got enough brothers this day that are in law schools. Many of them have graduated from the law schools. Man, we need to sit those young brothers down, and we need to begin to create workshops with these brothers, where that these brothers are able to take legal action to the courts relevant to some of these things that must be changed. We also must put into play the appropriate agency that can make a difference when people are victimized by the police. And once again, I support CPAC. I support CPAC because I believe they'll be fair. I believe that any type of process in which allows the citizens to have involvement would be great. You know, if we don't get this, then we get the same old service that we have always been getting. And when we tell you probably the past 6 years, and you know, I get telephone calls from people, and they call me and whatnot, and they tell me, say, man, I wish I would have paid attention to what you said then. They got my little Tony, and they beat him half to death, and blah, 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 and blah, blah. Now what we do, man, what we do starts with you right now. That's what we do. We need unity. We don't need no hollering, no screaming, no bickering, and all of that type of stuff there. Say, we need some unity, and the unity comes into play through its agenda. And there's many bright people out there who have agendas, but ain't wrote it out. Never wrote them out. You got to let the people know what you want. Then you got to put yourself in the positions of putting the right people into political office so that you can get what you want. I'm not telling you which way to vote. I'm not telling you what to do when it comes to what party to believe in or disbelieve in. But the bottom line of it is this: either you become to be the politician, or else we need you to vote. And either you're going to vote for the right person or you're going to vote for the. But one thing that is true, there's going to be a consequence in it. Either a good consequence or a bad consequence in your vote. City of Chicago is paying and suffering for at least 60 years of putting wrong people into political office. I'm not saying that every elected official was the wrong person, but they put enough of them in to make the good ones look very bad. And the good ones know, don't you? So the bottom line of it is this: Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. City Hall, City Hall, City Hall, City Hall, 121 North LaSalle. Once again, 121 North LaSalle, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be on the second floor of City Hall. There will be supporters of CPAC outside of City Hall. There will be supporters of CPAC also on the second floor, also in the chambers. I advise you seriously, if you want to get into the chambers, you are going to have to be there awful early, or you're not going to get in. You know, you can participate in the activities that will be taking place outside of the chambers. Yes, the whole thing is to let those people know that you can't sit up here and put something into play and it didn't work, and then now say, well, okay, that didn't work, now I'm gonna come up with something new. You got to give the people an opportunity. See, and the people don't want these political hands in these types of investigations. It should be separate. I'm totally separate. It shouldn't be Richard Delly's nephew sitting there interviewing you, talking about he's a investigator. And come on, that's the same layers of government that have kept us in bondage for many, 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 many years. Look at the torturous cops in Chicago. Matter of fact, uh, Daniel McQueen. Daniel McQueen was a cop that played good cop, bad cop. And in almost every one of these bogus confessions, he was the good cop. In some of these cases, yeah, he did actually participate in the acts of torture. But this man left the Chicago Police Department under heavy investigation. I'm talking about hundreds of complaints of torture, and got a job with the Cook County State's Attorney Office as the chief investigator until he decided that he wanted to resign. And guess where he moved to? He moved to Florida. Guess what? With John Burge. Bam, you people, you've been duped for many years. Let's stop being the comedy. Man, we only got a short time left on this earth. Man, we only got a short time, because if you can, many of us can remember when we were babies. Well, guess what? Now we 50s and 60s and 70s. So that means a very short time left on this earth. Man, let's get it right. Yeah, This is the kids' fight, but it must be a unity fight. Once again, thank you for listening to Back into Society Radio. I hope that you have just learned something about the city of Chicago and why CPAC must be uh, elected. It must be approved. It must be enacted by the city council. Uh, and you know, if Rahm Emanuel does not acknowledge CPAC, I think that's a smack in his face. If Chewy Garcia don't acknowledge CPAC, come on, you know Chewy, you said you had our back, and you started running for political office, and then we suffered what's called amnesia. Bam. So I already know half of you're mad at me anyway. So be a little bit more mad at me. The key of it is we need change. Our children are being gunned down in the community. And it ain't just by the police. It's because these communities have no restorative justice programs in it. And if they do have it, they're so underfunded, they can't even keep its doors open without individuals just having a heart for the kids and just opening up the door. I don't see kids in the neighborhood having basketball courts on their streets, which they can run up and down the streets and play basketball like in some of these other communities. You know what communities, and I don't want to use the race card and all that type of stuff there, but you know what I'm talking about. See, that means their aldermen and their state reps and their senators and what they put into their community. That's what that means. Because guess what? Let's keep it real. The same amount of dollars, and up here you get more. So guess what? You mean to tell me you can invest maybe $2,000 or $3,000 to make sure that these kids have at least some type of opportunity to at least say, well, guess what? We got a decent basketball court here, and we got this. I ain't talking about a basketball court like in the park, distance off. I'm talking about the little scootable basketball courts, and put them on those blocks and let these kids enjoy themselves. See, here it is. You got all of these police officers that you using, following up behind the dangerous protesters. I guess holding up a picket sign in the city of Chicago is dangerous. So you using approximately 500 cops for maybe 200 people. That means these cops are supposed to be on the streets, not following up some people holding some protest signs. And then they get away with the excuse by saying, well, guess what? They need to block the traffic for the protesters. Come on. That's a waste of tax dollars, but it happens each and every day. People know that it's happening. People ain't opening their mouths because guess what? My granddaughter or my uncle or my auntie, she works this job. Come on. Y'all got to be crazy as a box of rocks. Let me tell you, listen to me. It doesn't take much common sense to realize that all of this stuff is being misappropriated. It's being misappropriated due to the fact, guess what? If they get away with using 3, 4, and 500 cops on bike controls because there's a protest, but guess what? All in Inglewood and Roseland and all on the west side of Chicago, people being gunned down. And I'm not talking for anyone to go to prison, but the bottom line of it is guess what? We all know that certain conducts will get us put in prison. The key of it is we got to change. See, I ain't through with us as a people. Man, you got all these brothers, especially in the state of Illinois, that I've dealt with a little bit more intense. But all these brothers in prison and people walking all down the street and whatnot. And guess what? They lied on people to put these brothers behind prison bars maybe 15, 20 years ago in their lives. For whatever reason, little Tony gave them drugs, or maybe this person gave them some money, or maybe they tried to cash in on a reward. Man, that stuff there is bogus. Yeah, John Burge beat them inside of interrogation rooms and chained them to walls and called them all type of racial names. But that make you just as worse as John Burge. We must change our mindset. It ain't that you do wrong, it's how you do it. Think about that. It's how you do it, my brothers. It's how you do it, my sisters. So just think, as of yesterday, the Illinois Department of Corrections, 46,553 people in it. So guess what? If you commit a crime, you may be the 54th or 56th one in it. Think about that. Man, these people ain't discriminating and talking about, well, guess what? Because we got a budget problem, we gonna let them know they not. Stop believing the hype and believe reality. Believe the reality of what you see right in your own community. Yes, right in your own community. Right in your own community. Right, I'll say it again, maybe you missed it. Right in your own community. Right in the city of Chicago. We'll start from the areas of Roseland, and we'll go on down to, oh man, we'll make it on down to 11th and Roosevelt. On each block, with the exception of maybe the High Park area, there's at least 20 individuals that have served time inside of a prison. Think about that. On each block. Regardless if they committed the crime, regardless if they did not. But all of this stuff, the only thing that it creates is a destruction of our people, a destruction of our community, and it keeps in play the same old tactics. It's called racism. That's what it's called. If we gonna beat these people, we gotta beat these people with paper and pen. That was the old terminology. Today it's with laptops and processors. See, but that's how you beat the system. Then you put, it's called like, faith without works is dead. What is your faith? That meant you wrote up your document to the city and you let the city know, this is what I want. What is your works? You out there demanding it. That's your works. I know that we can make a difference, and we right at the tip of the iceberg. We right at that tip of the iceberg. But the bottom line of it is, we got to hold our emotions in check. Mother, father, sister, brother, girlfriend, wife, brother, listen to me. I realize your anguish. I realize your pain. I realize, to lose a child, to whether it's out as a result of gang violence or any type of a way, but to lose a child, it hurts. And, you know, we got to get up. We can't wait till it happened to us, then say, come on, let's go do something. No, no, we've been taught wrong. We got on the wrong boat when it comes to that. We got to do something to ensure that we limit the opportunity of it occurring. That's what we got to do. And when we limit that opportunity of it occurring, that always give us the upper hand to be able to deal with the problem. But you can't deal with the problem when it's systematically out of control. Think about that. First key step to victory is unity. You got brothers and sisters who've been out here on these war fields and fighting up against the system, man, for 20, 30 years of their lives. I can tell you from experience, most of the people out there are Caucasian people. Caucasian people. I'll say it this way, and I'll be just as frank and honest, and I'll tell you to your face. If you have a problem with the Caucasian people being out protesting for your rights, then you get up. Other than that, it really amounts that you, in your silence, is working with the system. So think about that. Somebody got to achieve your rights. Because right now, you ain't thinking right. So when they gun down your child out there in the streets, because that's what happens, the police, and they gun them down, then you're going to be talking about, oh, wicked. This is the time. Right now is the time. You don't wait till your kid get arrested to try to do something. We've been taught to just sit there and act like it don't exist. Then we go into court and say, well, look, Tony was a good kid. Come on, cut that mess out. Let's get it right. We can get it right. Anytime you allow government to condition your thinking, man, it may take us a long time before we get it right. But we got to start somewhere along this line and getting it right. I love you, my brothers. I love you, my sisters. And the second part of this program of Back in Society will be done by a guest host. But I just want you to all be encouraged and to know we can win. We can win through unity. We can win. It's called unity. We can win. But if we think we can't win, then guess what? You're going to get what you think that you can achieve. And when we tell you, that's just the life itself. If you think negative, 9 out of 10 times, that's what you get. If you think positive, 9 out of 10 times, some positive come your way. Be encouraged, love you, and I will be back on the air next Friday. Thank you.